Assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Hameed and Imam Amin with the Muslim Empowerment Institute podcast. So, inshallah, I gotta read my guess. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey, so walaikum salam. What's going on, my brother?
Alhamdulillah, pretty good.
Uh,
Last weekend we had the first event of the first annual Black American Muslim History Month,
right.
and it went well. We had a lot of pioneers tell us a lot of very interesting history. So inshallah, we'll be posting those videos soon, inshallah.
Yeah, we need those. I was going to ask you about that. So you had a lot of the pioneers from the old temple number 55,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Masjid al Mukminun.
Yes, sir. I got one
Okay,
video that's probably gonna go viral for real.
really.
Yeah, so
Okay.
inshallah,
All
you
right.
gotta see it to believe it.
Okay. All right. No spoilers. They got to wait for it to drop.
Yes, sir. Inshallah. Yeah,
Yes,
so
sir.
we're gonna pick up where we left off. Got into a little bit talking about the Black American Masjid and the state of the Black
Mhm.
Masjid in America. So, if you can just talk about, you know, what is the issues with the black masjids? When I think about black masjids, it's a stark contrast between a lot of the immigrant masjids. For one thing,
Right.
they're on two different sides of town. You got the immigrant masjids are usually predominant in the suburbs,
Hmm.
and the black masjids usually in the hood. You know what I mean?
Right.
The
Right.
immigrant masjids have seemingly endless resources as far as different things they want to do with their masjid. They want to build a mezzanine, they want to build an elevator, they want to have a soccer field, basketball court, even though they may already have a couple of them. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So, black masjids, they may not have all the resources. And then, you have internal political issues with the black masjids. So, if you can just tell us, what is the state of the black masjid in America?
Bismillah. I find that it's pretty much the same as it was when I wrote about it in State of Islam in Black America.
Uh,
Section 3, we did a whole section. The third phase of the book was looking toward the future. So I wanted to look toward the future through the lens of the most important institution that we have, which is the masjid.
right, right.
And what I wrote back in and published in 2022 and 2023 is the same as what I found 20 years ago or
Yeah.
more when I first started going around the country traveling, which is this, brother Hameed. And this is what I have to say this, for people that are watching the video. This is with all due respect to our Black American community or African American community masajids. But,
Mhm.
and we don't use immigrants as our litmus test for anything. But
Right.
by way of comparison, I'm just going to share this analogy. If you go into almost any major city and there's an immigrant masjid, and when we say immigrant, that could be loosely defined as just people from another ethnicity. They maybe have even been here for a couple of generations now,
Right.
but the foundational, they're still immigrants because it wasn't started by people who were indigenous to the land.
Right.
So if you go in any community and you find indigenous community in a Black American Muslim community,
Uh-huh.
the Black American Muslim community is always in last place.
Mm,
We're
yeah.
always going to be lagging behind in terms of resources,
The
in
resources.
terms of usually even space and aesthetic and actual, brick and mortar
Right.
institutions. We usually more often than not, there's a couple of exceptions. And even in those exceptions, we can go in those cities where African American Muslims are doing well. But even if we were going to compare those cities to what immigrants are doing,
Yeah.
they were still pale in comparison. Like I got one
Right.
city, I'm not going to mention them, but the masjid is doing good, thriving community, 1,000 people at Juma, businesses, they're doing great things. May Allah increase them.
I
But
mean,
in that same city, immigrants built a $14 million joint, man, right downtown next to the college.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So so I'm saying that to say that
Yeah.
we're always lagging behind. And part of the reason that I subscribe to, that I think that happens, and I found it in real time, is because immigrant massages and people in immigrant communities, they don't break up communities theologically or
Yes.
over theological issues as quick as we do.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I give you an example. When I came to Memphis, right? And
Right.
we did the program that night at MIC, Memphis Islamic Center, right?
Right.
You can tell just by going in, if you're observant enough, you can tell that in that particular place, it may be established on a certain ideology or madhahib or school of thought. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe not. But what I will say is this: it might be 3 or 4 different modes of practice or school of thoughts in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you can see that just by how the people pray. If people are making their sunnah, somebody's
Yeah.
here, down at the navel, and you
Yeah.
just look and you know, Phyllis, right? Your big beards and no beards,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
Man, in the black Muslim community, man, please, all hell usually would break
Oh
loose.
yeah.
Oh, what you doing, brother? He saved his whole beard, or what got him? Look at him. You know, so
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have this, this almost like, fanatical, attachment to things that are theological. And whenever we don't agree, we see entire communities just split and go in different directions. So in doing that, how do you ever attain critical mass to build anything? Where as soon as you
Yeah.
start doing a project and the least little thing happens, oh man, she's Akida, man. And then I heard one brother say, well, is it his Akida? No, but it's not his Akida, but his minhaj is off. So, so I'm like, wow, man.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, right, we just trying to we just trying to get Yahya out the gutter,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
That's
Right?
right.
We trying to get Ab out the gang, right?
Right.
We trying to do things to benefit people in real time, but we get stuck in theology, man. So because of
Yeah.
that, we find ourselves in that situation. And last point, I'll leave it at this, then we can chop it up. And this is why it's no coincidence that particularly when we run the numbers, and I say that most of the objective studies would support the main study that came to this conclusion,
Uh.
that those things that I mentioned are a big reason why 80% of the people that say that they identify as Muslims
Right.
don't belong to a
Yeah.
masajid,
Yeah.
which is
That's right.
we know is plural for masjid, for mosque, right?
Yeah.
80%, because they don't see anything happening there in real time that really resonates enough with their life to make them think that they need to make any commitment to that institution.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed too. That it's easier to get yourself a third space, which we call it's not a masjid, it's not your home, it's somewhere in between. It's easy to get stuff done there than inside of the masjid. You know what I
It's,
mean?
it's much easier, which has lent itself to people starting these organizations that are third space organizations.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, by the permission of Allah, I'm kicking off one here back in New Jersey now that I'm here.
Yeah.
Because I came here. I've been back here for 3 years now. As since the passing of my sister, may Allah grant her mercy and peace and
Amin.
paradise, right? And I start looking at the landscape, and I'm like, you know what? I don't claim to have all the answers, but I can sit here and complain about what we're not doing, or
Right.
I can just do something and try to model a different path forward. So we set
Yeah.
up a third space organization that's not going to take anything from the masjid,
Right.
but it's
Right.
going to fill those gaps that historically could and should be filled by the masjid. But
Right.
for some reason, we look at the masjid through such a narrow lens that we limit everything. I remember we started the masjid in East Orange, man, and came in one day, and it was before the prayer. A brother was off to the side reading the newspaper. A brother harammed him up. "Ah, why you reading the newspaper on the musalla?" Man, sitting on the side, nowhere
Uh,
near people praying, in the chair reading the newspaper, and somebody harammed him up, right? Over
yeah.
over over reading the newspaper. So we just have this. I really think it's weird.
Yeah.
It
It
used to
is.
really bother me, but now it's kind of humorous to me, like how fanatical we can become about our narrow understanding of these spaces and places. So until we really take the role of the masjid back to what it was during the time of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad,
So,
right? Which meaning that what? It was a broad-based community center. Yeah, we
right.
prayed there, but that wasn't it. It was a whole lot of other things went there. It was almost like what we would call it now, like a town hall. And
Yeah.
the masjid should really be a Muslim version of like City Hall.
Yeah. That's right. That's
in
right.
each community, right, where people can go there. Why did they go to the Prophet, prayer and peace be upon them, when they needed advice, right? They go to the
Right.
Masjid. Muhammad, what do you think about this? The Masjid should be those kind of resources. But we just so just narrow, man. I often
Yeah.
say, trust me, you get me talking about this topic, as you can see, this is one I'm very passionate about. Because sometimes I joke when I'm giving lectures or I'm talking to groups of people, and I say that if you give an African American Muslim or Black American Muslim a building, any type of space, and
Uh-huh.
they have intentions to do any type of like masjid based organization,
Uh-huh.
we it's only it's only two tools that we think we really need. I mean, you know what they are?
Yeah. What's that?
It's a it's a it's a compass on your phone to see where the Qibla is,
Ah,
and it's a tape measure for the rugs.
yeah.
Because it's not authentic. We're not deaning until the rugs go down.
Right, right, right.
Right? So that's it.
Yeah.
We don't go into a community and do needs assessments and think
Yeah.
about anything that we can bring of value to those people that are living there. But hey man, we got to set
Yeah.
up, man. Right? We got rugs, we got salat established, right? And we got a place where we can collect charity. If you had
Yes.
those three, if you had those three things, hey, that's institution building to us in 21st century Black America. So
Yeah.
until we shake that, we're gonna find ourselves being in the same situation, man, where we're just behind. And the immigrants, I'm sorry, most of them, they get it. Their model is more community based, community centered,
Yeah.
and right. And because of that, they're able to achieve more in the broader sense without neglecting any other aspects of worship. But because we focus on just the worship part, we leave a whole other part to the side that's really part and parcel, with our deen,
Right.
with our way of life.
So in other words, many Black American Muslims are very one-dimensional religiously. We
Yeah.
can't chew gum and walk at the same time. We feel
Mhm.
like this masjid is exclusively for, as you always say, prayer rug
Mhm.
activities, and we
Prayer
can't
rug
think outside the
activities.
box. You know what I
No,
mean?
we're not interested in thinking outside the box. And the thing about it is that if you have a usable space, once you put the rug down, in most people's mind, you automatically limited what you can do. So now we can
Yeah.
never have a situation in there where you could like have a bazaar because why? You can't buy and sell on the musalla.
Right. Right.
Right? So we have all these different things that are ingrained into it that all we basically do is handicap ourselves with all
Yeah.
these restrictions because we don't know how to use and appropriate space in a way that makes sense. And it's a problem. And
Yeah.
really, when I look at the establishment of how we like to do mosque in America, oftentimes, what it does, like it makes a sense of false, it makes a series of false assumptions. And the biggest of those assumptions for me is that we're in a Muslim country and that somebody's going to come along, right, and do these other things for us that we know need to be done, right?
Yeah.
So in a Muslim country, right, the the masters are paid for by the government,
Right. Right.
right? So whatever the people give in charity, that's not going to impact whether that place survives or not,
Right.
right? Here, we try to structure our places as if something is going to come that's just going to help us. It's almost mystery God thinking to me
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
somebody's going to come and fulfill all these other needs while we just focus on establishing the salat and having a few classes and things of that nature, and then nothing else goes on. So now
Right.
what do? If you got a bigger building, Hameed, what happens? Now you got a huge building that you're really only using for a combined 2.5 to 3 hours out the day
Yeah.
because you don't
That's
have no
right.
school in there, right? You
No
don't have
school. Yeah.
any type of marketplace in the corridors or exteriors. You opening and closing the place for salat, and you got another 21 hours during the day that building is totally not utilized
Yeah.
for community activities, for Islamic activities on any level. It's just dead wasted space. And it's a
Right.
problem. It's a problem, particularly in this age where we're living in, where resources are probably more tight and more strained than ever.
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
why do you think, as Black American Muslims, we have more social capital, and a lot of immigrant Muslims, they have the financial capital.
Right.
Why is it that, we know the scene, we know the landscape? Why is it that we feel like our messages can only be for one thing,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of the immigrants, Muslims, they know that, look, we want to have this as an Islamic center. We want to have politicians over. Like 2 weekends ago, they had
Hmm.
all of the people running for the Congress in the
Right.
masjid,
Hmm.
and they had a forum, and
Yes.
they were basically trying to sell themselves. Trying to
Yes.
get voters,
And
and
that's how it should be. They need to
yeah,
fight. If we establish a voting block and show that we have some influence, yeah, those politicians will want to come and engage us and talk with us and not at us.
exactly,
But for all
exactly.
too often, that's been the dialogue where these people come and talk at us. But part of what you just mentioned, Hameed, is really our fault that it doesn't happen at that level in the black community. I give you an example right here in my city in Newark. It might have missed a lot of people because it was posted on Facebook, but
Mhm.
we had one of the masjids, and it's happening at a couple of places. The city of Newark is doing these public safety tours.
Mm,
So they're having town hall meetings, and they pick masjid locations to have a town hall meeting about public safety in that community.
okay.
Do you know that somebody affiliated with one of the masjids actually went online and posted that this is not the kind of thing we should be doing at the masjid?
Oh man, subhanallah,
And I'm reading this, and
subhanallah.
I'm like, and I'm trying to get the benefit of the doubt. I'm rubbing my eyes did I read this wrong? Did somebody just say that the place that establishes sakina, peace and tranquility in the neighborhood, the masjid, that's not the place that we should have the public safety town hall meeting for the neighborhood?
And see, that's crazy because, as I mentioned, most of our Black American masajid are in the
Hmm.
hood in high crime areas.
Brother, listen, the highest crime areas, some of the
Yeah,
highest crime areas, the masjids are either in the hood or they're hood adjacent, right?
yeah,
Where you know
right,
that within a couple of blocks, right? It's
right.
some skullduggery happening, right?
Oh yeah,
And it's going to trickle its way into the masjid doorstep, and we see
yeah,
this in real time. All you got to do is be on social media for any length of time, and you see some of the stuff that happens, around and sometimes in and at masajids and centers.
yeah. In and
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So this cultural piece. Let me say this: one of the things, this cultural phenomena is really something that's really started happening. I would say in the '90s, because there was a time before in many urban communities or black communities that when immigrants came here, they would just fall in. They would just fall in, as we say, and
right.
go to the black masjid.
Yeah.
But here's what happens as
Okay.
they start institutionalizing themselves and having families and they get to another generation, they feel the need to get their own place because why? They also have to protect their culture,
Yeah. Cultural
right?
enclaves. That's
Right.
what we call the immigrant mashes. It kind of, it's like a taste
Exactly.
of Pakistan,
Exactly.
a
Yep.
taste of Egypt. But
Yep.
now I'm seeing that a lot of the different immigrants, like and where I am,
Hmm.
is such a diverse amount of different immigrant Muslims. I mean, they're
Hmm.
from all over the world. So they're beginning to have their own activities outside the masjid. So they have like their own cultural festivals and things like
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
And they're actually even getting their own facilities, getting buildings,
It happens
specifically for these
here. It
things.
happens here in this area. They got the Turkish Cultural Center, that cultural
Yeah,
center. They have their own, like we talked about third spaces, but these
right.
are real third spaces where you could like it's not even connected or affiliated with any masajid or center. It's just that
Yeah,
the peoples happen to just be Muslim from those particular lands that
right.
culturally that they're representing. And guess
Yeah.
what? I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah,
It,
exactly,
right.
exactly. Like we
Yeah.
had what they call Harari Day, which is
Mhm.
from Muslims from a place in Egypt in Ethiopia called Hara.
Ethiopia. Right.
Yeah, and this is one of their spots where
Yeah.
they had this big, huge cultural um extravaganza. They had like food, they had like sports, and they just
Wow.
got together and was dancing and singing their songs. And I know people who
Hmm.
are really not into them, people
Yeah.
from their country that are not
Right.
necessarily in agreement with them theologically, but they were
Right.
there in the mix because hey, this is their culture. You know what I mean? So it's a thing
Yeah.
like sometimes we encounter difficulties
Hmm.
where we may have an initiative just to like we said
Hmm.
just to fix crime in our neighborhoods. and
Right.
we may invite people who are who got security teams like in the nation. We
Right.
may invite them, and they got a whole security teams, they got a whole
Yeah.
business in this regard. A
Right.
person may say, why we got to invite them? Because they're experts in this regard. So if you're trying to do something, you got to
Yeah.
invite the experts. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't understand
hmm
it.
We had a tragic situation in the city of Newark a few years ago where one of our imams was killed. And you know about it.
Right,
It was
right.
national
Yeah.
news. My dear brother Imam Hassan Sharif, may Allah forgive him any shortcomings, grant him peace, mercy, forgiveness, and the highest level of paradise. He was a good man,
Amin. Amin.
And I remember when it happened, it was one of the rare occasions that I actually went online and did a live, because I
Mm,
wanted to talk about that, and I wanted to talk about just the whole state of Masjid security, and
yes.
it was funny because that one live, it kind of went viral.
Really?
It went
Okay.
viral, and even within the Nation of Islam, I found out from one of my brothers in the nation that one of the captains came to him and said, "Man, who this Imam? He was online. He was on live quoting general orders and everything. Because that moment brought me back to our best training. And as you said earlier, like why would you call the nation? Because the nation is trained and tested and
Yeah.
true to
Yeah.
establish the security. So my point is this: if you in an urban center and you have a Black American masjid in a community that has challenges around public safety, why wouldn't you partner with the nation?
Yeah, it don't make
Right?
any sense.
To train your people. So I've been on public record that hey, we might not at the master level, we may not want to go as far as the check procedure like the nation has when you
Uh,
come in and you search. But guess
yeah.
what? We gonna do a mandatory wand when you come in. And if you're a woman in the woman's area, somebody's gonna look in your bag and make sure you're not carrying nothing. And if you're
Yeah.
carrying, you better be licensed,
Right.
right?
That's right.
Because if not, man, we just put ourselves, people come into the masjid with all types of other ideas in their mind,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing situations where some young brothers were killed in front of a masjid in the city that I lived in some years ago. They were killed right in front of the masjid. And these
Look.
happened to find, as we found out later, they were brothers, Allah cover our shortcomings and forgive us, our shortcomings. They were involved in some things they didn't have no business doing, right?
Yeah.
But my point is that why were they able to be killed in front of the masjid? Because the people knew that they would be there.
Yeah. That's right.
People knew they would be there, right? So at the very least, we have to have basic level security protocols set up at our places, man, in these areas. So, and we can define what that looks like. And that has nothing to do with anybody's theological understanding. Because one brother said, "Oh, brother, what you want to do, that's too much like the nation." When is protecting the people that we're responsible for in our institution? When did that become a theological issue?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any
Right.
sense. It's like, look,
Yeah.
we're gonna have at the end of the month, inshallah, the first annual bean pie cook-off, right?
Yes, sir.
So why are we having that? Oh, you're trying to copy the nation. Like, look, man, I grew up eating bean pies. And it's like, brother, you grew up eating bean pies. You know what I mean? So the thing is, all of us are influenced. I mean,
Right.
I consider this to be black Muslim culture. You know what I
It is
mean?
because it is
You
Black
know,
Muslim culture,
I
man.
mean, you know, the
It is.
whiting, we're going to,
Yeah.
inshallah, we hope to have the whiting fish, the
Yeah.
bean pie.
Yeah.
What else was it? Or
Listen, bean soup, all
bean
those
soup,
things,
yeah,
man.
bean soup.
Listen, yeah, we're doing
You
an
know,
event in Newark where we're doing the same thing. We're giving an old fashioned bazaar where we're going back to that part of our cultural expression.
yeah, this is
And
something outside of and I did some research on this. As
hmm
far as an indigenous Black American cultural phenomenon that doesn't have any connection to Africa,
right,
you got the the uh the the culture that the Nation of Islam created, and you have the HBCU marching bands,
okay,
right? And these are the things that I've been able to find that are truly indigenous. That is like like slave, like blues and jazz. There's a
yes,
lot of African
right,
elements of that. But as far as something that's truly indigenous, it's
hmm
these two. You know what I mean? And so there's nothing wrong with us doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, I think that until we start looking at that part of the cultural expression again, we're going to continue to be like narrow and and
Yeah.
restricted. And that's one of the beauties about when we used to do these bazaars when I was growing up. During that time as the Nation of Islam, these were events that you would be comfortable. You could bring your non-Muslim family, co-workers,
Right.
whatever, and
Exactly.
everybody would enjoy themselves. And guess what? That was the best form of dawah, as you know.
Exactly.
And back
Exactly.
then, as we would say, we fished a lot of people in by way of those cultural events. So how about now, right? We say we're Muslims, right? We not just going to invite people to the masjid to watch us pray, right?
Yeah.
And teach them Islam that way. How about we interact with them in a cultural setting? They get to see what it's like, to be around Muslims, in a public
Right.
place and space. And that could be a good attraction, especially when they're around Muslims that know how to behave themselves,
Right.
so, like I said, I just, I don't get it. I don't get it. But in a way, I do get it because
Yeah.
sometimes when people just strive to be other than what they are,
Yes.
this is what it looks like on the other side, where
Yeah.
they don't want to associate with anything culturally that they can't directly trace back to something that was done during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yeah.
But although we see clear evidence of various cultural celebrations and things that happened during the time of the Prophet, as long as it
Right.
didn't allow pagan worship, it was no issue. We have
Yeah.
documented reports of these things that happened from a cultural perspective.
Sure
But
did.
for some reason, brother, with us, hey man, we just want to again, brother, roll a roll the rugs out. Let's pray, and we go home and live to see another prayer in another day. And that's the
Yeah.
ex- and that's the ex- and that's the extent of our community development and establishment.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all the other cultural expressions, and all the other ethnicities, they come to our community. They establish businesses. You
All the
know,
time.
I was talking. I got a situation that I was talking about earlier, and some of my friends that may watch this, they know how this one issue it grates on my nerves, and I'm not hating on the brother because I wish all of us to be able to do well. But how amazing is it that you could be in an urban city and a person could come from another country
Mm.
and could become a multimillionaire selling halal soul food?
Wow. Man, that's deep.
Right? This thing, you become a multi-millionaire selling our own food for people that eat that.
Right.
I don't eat. You don't eat it all the time either. You know what I mean? Because it's not it's not healthy eating fried food all the time. But just
Yeah.
think about that, right? Somebody coming from the Middle East and they come to America to Memphis and they open up a restaurant and become a multi-millionaire selling macaroni and cheese, right?
Yeah.
Whiting fish, right? Baked chicken, all the foods that are known to be part of, that could be connected with Black Muslim culture.
Right.
When Muslims were here all the time that are Black Muslims and never did that type of business,
Yeah.
right? It's crazy. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand. And then we
Yeah.
wonder why economically we don't have anything, because again,
Yeah.
our focus is one dimension. And until we
One
start
dimension.
looking at this Islamic experience in America as a comprehensive experience, religious, cultural, education, economics, until we start looking at it in that comprehensive way, we're going to continue to just keep boxing ourselves in. And we're going to sit back while a whole nother generation of millionaires who look like other than us is created.
Right. Right.
You know,
And
you
to
know.
and to wrap it up, another thing as far as the internal politics with black masjids.
Hmm.
I mean, this is just outside of just keeping the lights on and different things like that. Why do
Okay.
you feel that it can be so complex, you know, to get things done? Like, people say like with this first annual Black American Muslim History Month, I'm
Hmm.
basically doing it all by myself. You know what I
Right.
mean? I had,
Hmm.
a donor, but I'm basically doing it by myself. I'm doing the presentations. I did the flyers, did the banner. I did all of it by myself. Now, why did I do that? It's because if we had a committee to do this,
Hmm.
then we would never get anything done.
You're vague, man, because everybody's in there vying for control, right? And got all these
Yeah,
differing visions, right? We don't know how to get things done, but based on mutual consultation as we've been commanded to,
right.
and oftentimes that's just because everybody wants to be in charge.
Yeah, That's
you
it.
know. But again, this gets back to the underlying issue that we deal with as black people, and black Muslims in America aren't exempt from this phenomena, which is our disdain for structure and organization
Right.
sometimes, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's why, hey, people say what they want to say. And, they're going to say, oh, this podcast, all they talk about is the nation. No, I got to reference best practices. This is why when you have structure and order,
Yeah.
you can get things done,
That's
right?
right. That's
Everybody
right.
has clearly defined roles. Everybody has clearly defined responsibilities, and you stay in your lane and you get things done that need to be done. But in absence of that, you have these situations like you do where most of the things usually fall to like one or two people,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate. And if you don't do it, sadly, you know that you could say this for your own experience, I'm sure. I'm not going to speak for you, but I know you'll agree. If you hadn't taken on the responsibility to do most of what you're doing, that
Right.
event wouldn't have happened.
It would have never
The
happened.
event would have happened. Right?
Right. That's how it is. Cause
It would
like
have happened.
cause like really the way they say, okay, if you got an idea,
Hmm.
brother or sister,
Yeah.
you
Right.
gotta handle it 100% by yourself. I've
Right.
heard people say this. You
Right.
know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I know it's stuff that we need to get done.
Hmm.
We need to get stuff done politically, economically.
Hmm.
Okay, do I really want to do this all by myself? No.
No.
But I know it needs to be done, so I may have to
Right.
do it all by myself. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep. And this is why one of the most important things that we can do at the masjid and institutional level is this process of getting to know each other, so we would know each other's skill sets.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
sometimes, right, when you get to know each other, you talk
Uh-oh.
should be back. Yeah, we did have to edit that part out.
Yeah.
When you talking with a brother, or sisters are talking with sisters, or you talking, amongst each other, you get to find out people's skill sets and people's interests and things like that. So when you're doing programs and activities, you know that these are people you can call upon, right?
Right.
But if all you're doing is talking to people in passing while you're there for prayer, or occasionally between lectures or whatever, you never know the
Yeah.
capacity of the person that might be praying right next to you. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? That
Exactly.
person right next to you might be the very person that can help solve a major dilemma that you're having right now.
Yeah, because it's
You
just
know?
like and I'm glad you mentioned that. It's just like, for example, like I remember a sister years and years ago. Um, I was supposed to be a reference for this brother for marriage,
Uh
right?
huh.
And she was asking me some questions about the brother. I was like, look, sis, all I know is the Masjid version of this brother.
Right. Hey, and guess what?
You know what I
You kept
mean?
it real with her. That's
You
that's
know what
all
I'm
you
saying?
know. Right.
And it's like, I just deal with the brother with Masjid stuff. I mean, I see him at the masjid. I don't see him outside the masjid. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So the version of him that you want to know is his outside the masjid version. You want to know how
Right.
he is at home. You
Right.
probably need to talk to his mom or his siblings and
Oh,
some of his
right.
kids,
Right.
maybe
Or
his
some people he grew up
coworkers.
with, the people who knew him before the match did or outside of the match
Yeah,
did,
you know what I'm saying? So it's like, sis, I told the brothers like, man, I'm probably not the best reference for you.
Uh-huh.
And that's a whole nother story there. While we had these marital breakdowns, because we're seeing the masjid version of the sister or the brother,
Right.
and then when we go outside the masjid, go to our homes, it's
Yeah.
like, man, sis, I didn't know you was a nut job, or it was like, man, I didn't know this brother was crazy like this. It's because
Yeah,
you
man.
only, even like when they're with their sit downs. They're
Right.
only asking like stuff related to him in the masjid.
Dude, it's two things. You related to things in the match did, and whether he has a job.
Yep, that's
That
it.
those might be the only two things, right? Their their cultural norms, likes and dislikes, their habits, all those other the idiosyncrasies of life. They don't even enter the conversation. And
Yeah,
those are the things that we know, right, what can invariably make or break a marriage.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
things, right? So if you're not having discussions about those things, hey, I don't know how serious we are about even going through the process.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Inshallah, more
Hameed,
to
I told
come.
a brother. I thought before we go, I told a brother
Okay.
recently. One of the imams said they're having a program on marriage uh, at the one of the two local Islamic centers here in my city, and I told him, I said that you know what, I said, and I wasn't critiquing him. I was just making an observation. I said, I'm glad you're having a program. I said, but I always often wonder when I see a lot of these marriage seminars
Uh,
why they don't have the people there that's been married 30, 40,
30,
sometimes
40
50
years.
years
Right.
and let them talk to the people and share real-time experience. Like me, I'm now,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah, like next month, my parents will be married 59 years next month,
Allahu Akbar.
right?
Alhamdulillah.
59 years. So you know what type of struggle and challenges and life experience stories come with a
Yeah.
marriage that long that people can benefit from. So those are the kind of people that we have to start having come and talk to these things. Like I may come and speak on a lot of things, but I'm not going to come and speak to you about marriage. I can tell you about the
Yeah.
rules and laws of marriage, but that's not my area. I've been married way too many times than what I'm proud of. And my longest marriage was 10 years,
Yeah.
right? I'm just keeping it real with you. So
Yeah.
why would I want to then lend, any real advice on that when I know that I could go throughout my community and I could find a number of rock solid couples,
Right. Right.
right? That young people would tremendously benefit from, you know?
Exactly.
So so those are the kind of things we got to start looking at, man. And when we look at that, then those are just from my perspective anyway. Those are going to be really fundamental building blocks on how we really build communities that'll be sustainable for generations. And it's no shortcuts to that.
Right.
Every time we skip steps in those parts of our development, we see the impact of it on the other side. So I trust and
Right.
pray that inshallah we'll do better, we'll get better. But part of it is starting to have the conversations like this. Until we had a conversations like this, then we're just
Yeah.
going to keep going through the motion and thinking that we're healthy when in many cases we're not.
Right. Indeed. Indeed.
Yes, sir.
More to
Yes,
come.
sir. Yes, sir.